This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, the battle for Pictou West. Voters cast their ballots in today's by-election.
Home on the range, a Musquodoboit Valley farm has big plans to grow its bison herd.
And forever in blue jeans. Meet the Nova Scotia man nicknamed the Denim Whisperer.
A beautiful day today and another nice one shaping up for Wednesday. Some summer-like warmth, sunshine, and a few showers. Your full forecast details are coming up.
Good evening. Residents in the electoral district of Pictou West will know in the next few hours who their next MLA will be.
The polls are open for 2 more hours and 4 parties have candidates on the ballot. For more on this tonight, we have our legislature reporter Michael Gorman live in Pictou for us. Michael.
Tom, this vote's necessary following the surprise resignation announcement last month by Carla McFarlane. The veteran Tory MLA announced she was stepping down as Speaker of the House and would be retiring from provincial politics. Premier Tim Houston wasted little time in calling the by-election. Since first being elected in 2013, McFarlane built a reputation as a strong and steady constituency MLA, and her voting results showed as much at the polls. In 2021, she pulled 2/3 of the vote. Now, the party is hoping that tonight, political newcomer Marco McLeod can produce a similar result for the Progressive Conservatives. The Liberals are running Mary Wooldridge Elliott. She ran for the party in 2021, finishing second to McFarlane. The NDP candidate, Melinda McKenzie, has some political recognition of her own as a local town councillor here in Pictou. The Green Party, is running Claire Brett. Brett ran for the party in 2021, finishing fourth. As far as issues here in this election, it should be no surprise that healthcare is top of mind for many people here in Pictou West, as it is for just about anyone anywhere in Nova Scotia. But as far as more localized issues go, there is a controversial proposal for a large wind farm development. That's created some division amongst folks here in the district. And there is always the looming question of the future of the Northern Pulp Mill, which closed back in 2020. Polls close tonight at 8 p.m. and it shouldn't take too long for results to come in. Folks looking to track those results and see the final count can check our website later this evening. Tom?
All right, Michael, thanks very much for that. The CBC's Michael Gorman reporting live from Pictou this evening.
A man from Masstown is facing a number of child pornography charges following a tip from a U.S. police force. According to a news release from the RCMP, a search warrant was executed at a home in Masstown yesterday. Police in Lincoln City, Oregon, tipped off local officers that a person was communicating online in a sexual manner with someone believed to be a child. A 25-year-old has been charged with luring a child, transmission and possession of child pornography, among other charges.
Major changes are coming to 4 schools in the Halifax area starting in September. To cope with rapidly growing student populations, HRCE is restructuring grade levels at 4 of its schools. It's happening at West Bedford School, Grosvenor Wentworth Park, Joseph Howe Elementary, and Burton Ettinger. But parents say they wish they'd been consulted more on the decision.
They could have prepared teachers, families, students. Instead, they're left scrambling, and the teachers are scrambling, the families are scrambling, and it's just really unfortunate that they called this consultation when it was basically a weekend of asking parents their opinion.
A spokesperson for HRCE said other options were considered, like modular or portable classrooms, but those weren't enough to keep up with the growth. There are now more than 59,000 students enrolled in schools across the region.
8 months after post-tropical storm Lee tore through Rizzers Beach Provincial Park, repairs are moving into the final stages. Last September, the storm surge and flooding, along with strong winds, caused extensive damage along the beach. Boardwalks that were torn up have now been fixed, and the day-use area has also been cleared up. Camping opened on Friday at the north part of the campground known as North Rizzers. Construction on the new road, providing access to the remaining campsites by the beach that haven't reopened yet, is being moved further away from the water to make it less susceptible to any future storms.
There are calls to improve cell phone service in southwest Nova Scotia. Local businesses complain the cell system has never been strong in many locations, but it has been further weakened by natural events like last year's wildfire. Angelique LeBlanc is CEO of the Western Regional Enterprise Network.
It did. There were some cell coverage issues even ahead of the wildfire. And not just the wildfire, but we are getting more frequent storms in our region. And I think our infrastructure is just taking a beating. So where there was maybe less than perfect cell service, there are areas in our region now that don't have coverage. So that definitely is a concern.
Talk to Angelique LeBlanc about poor cell service in southwest Nova Scotia and the impact it is having on the area. That's our newsmaker just after 6:30. But right now, let's check in with Ryan Snoddon in the Weather Center.
And a beautiful day out there today. Too bad it wasn't a day or so earlier.
Always the way, right? Back to work, and the temperatures warm up. And what a day. A summer-like warmth today. Thanks so much, Tom and Amy. And yeah, we did crack 26, even 27 degrees in through eastern parts of the valley, Pictou and Antigonish counties as well. A couple of backyard weather stations there getting as warm as 27 degrees, and just widespread low to mid-20s, of course, cooler in those onshore winds. And that is obviously the case as we know this time of year. It's going to be a very similar story for tomorrow. A mix of sun and cloud. Now, we will see some isolated shower chances crawling in into the afternoon across the north and east of the province into Cape Breton, Antigonish, Pictou, Colchester, Cumberland, up towards the Amherst area. Now, we will be watching once again the onshore winds to be a factor tomorrow. So low to mid-20s in many cases, some high 20s most likely here in through the southwest, but can't rule them out here in through the north and east as well. But again, it's going to be much cooler, more like 12 to 15 degrees in those onshore winds, which tomorrow will be in from the west to southwest. So just be mindful of that. Now, looking forward, we will be watching again those shower chances, as I mentioned, for tomorrow afternoon. There they are there. Pretty isolated in nature indeed. Thursday, another chance of showers. Once again, the best chances are going to be into the north and east. Nothing too prevalent here as we turn the page even into Friday. We will be watching that system off to the to our north, impacting us with a few more showers, but really it's going to be not until later Sunday into Monday that we'll see perhaps a shot that will be even more noteworthy than that. But Tom and Amy will talk about in that 7-day forecast the burn ban, which continues to be in place, and I suspect it'll be in place right through the next 7 to 10 days.
Okay. Sounds like it.
Thanks so much
Ryan.
for that, Ryan. We'll talk a little later.
Thank you.
Well, there is a new kind of farm now in operation in the Musquedamet Valley. A German family that moved to the area 4 years ago now have a herd of bison on their property. It's the first bison herd in Nova Scotia, and the family has big plans for expansion. Our Paul Palmer has that story for us tonight.
This is the herd of bison that is now making themselves at home in the Musquedamet Valley. 41 of them were transported to the area from Ontario in 2 trucks 2 weeks ago.
They got here really calm. Actually, we went inside and took the bulls. We had to talk to them a little bit till they come up and out of sleep. They were actually so relaxed. And yeah, so it was really much better than we expected it to be, I guess. They settled in really well after a couple hours.
Physically getting these animals to the farm was actually much easier than the behind-the-scenes work. When they came from Germany, they operated a deer farm, and they had to go through a lot of paperwork to make everything happen here.
The permitting process was also not the easiest one because bringing a whole herd of bison to Nova Scotia is kind of the first time that somebody did this. So we had to understand how everything is working and to whom we have to contact in order to get all the permits that we need.
The Tierlings packed up all their belongings and heavy machinery into shipping containers and sent them to Nova Scotia to their new property. They had to build a 1.7-kilometer road around the bison enclosure, which is a mix of pasture land and woods. But they saved a lot of money by using their own gravel pit on the site. The posts for the fencing also came from trees on the property that were knocked down by Hurricane Fiona, which was another cost saver and helped clean up the property at the same time.
We got it all done and settled, but it was long days and long hours. But it worked out. Everything went well, and we built the road entirely ourselves. We had opened up our own rock pit here, and we moved in total on the road you're walking today 40,000 tons of gravel.
But the hard work is far from done. Now they have an entire herd of bison to look after. The herd grew from 41 to 42 last week when this calf was born. The Tierlings are planning to market their farm as an agritourism destination. They are encouraging campers and tenters to visit the farm and are designating locations next to the enclosure so they will be guaranteed to see the animals. They've also purchased a nearby cottage and will be building new ones to encourage more visitors to come.
They are able to just park their RV right beside our bison fence, and I think that's pretty unique to Nova Scotia and also for Canada. So that's, I think, a good start.
One of the next projects is to finish the on-site butcher shop and prepare their own retail space to sell bison meat. They will also be renovating the old co-op store in Middle Musquodoboit, where they will have more retail space and a small restaurant. Paul Pometer, CBC News, Lindsay Lake.
The home to a once much-loved video rental business in Halifax is going to have a new lease on life. Video Difference on Quinpool Road went dark in 2016 after 34 years in business. Now it's being turned into an arts hub. 2B Theatre Company moved into the building earlier this year. One of its founders says the building will be used for rehearsals, workshops, and as a community workspace.
Such a high level of need for arts and creation space in the city that before we were ready, before we had even cleaned the carpets, folks were calling us up saying, please, can we get into the space and use it? And of course, we've been in that position before, so we said yes. We found a way to make it work.
Barry says over a dozen art groups are already renting space in the building. More renovations are underway and should take about 2 years to fully complete. Well, as we know, jeans are a classic wardrobe staple, but for anyone who's shopped for a new pair, they know finding the perfect fit can be a struggle.
That's where the Denim Whisperer comes in. Alex Pearson helps customers go beyond just looking good to feeling good. Jane Sponicle visited him at his Kentville store.
There's nothing better than someone coming out of the dressing room with jeans and being like, I love the happy dance. Actually, the happy dance is probably my favorite thing in the whole world. I'm known as the Denim Whisperer. Our friend Nikki came into the Lunenburg shop a couple weeks after we opened. She has a very tiny waist, but she's got a bum and some hips, as people do. She mostly wore dresses and Lulus, but really wanted a pair of jeans. I believe she hadn't fit in a pair of jeans since she was 15. I got her a pair of jeans. She came out of the dressing room, fanning her face, ugly crying, going, oh my God, Alex, you're a Denim Whisperer. To which Margaret, my wife and partner, said, I've been calling him that for weeks. And then it just kind of stuck.
So what are you looking for? Like when Nikki walked in, how did you know what jeans were going to fit her?
I just generally have a knowledge of what eras of denim do what for which bodies, and there's certain people that like contemporary denim right now just does not work for them because they don't think about people with those bodies for the jeans they make now because they're making jeans for the average body. And body averaging is terrible and I hate that we do it. So I knew that she needed a pair of balloon jeans from the late 80s, early 90s. And I had the exact pair and they just worked wonderfully. She was very happy and the name stuck and here we are 6 years later still putting butts in jeans.
What if you have no bum but you want to look like you have a bum and a pair of jeans? You know what I mean?
Well, that's what 501s are for.
Okay.
Margaret refers to my GWG Cowboy Kings, my Wrangler Cowboy Cuts, and my 501s as my equivalent of a push-up bra. Magically, but from nothing, arises a bum. I grew up blue collar, was surrounded by denim my entire life, just always really had some affinity for it, and since its inception, denim's never gone out of style. It's the one piece of clothing, I think, that is truly timeless. I was a creative director, a photographer, graphic designer, and I also think that my particular neurodiversity also allows me to see things in 3 dimensions. A lot of people with the particular neurodiversity that I have tend to see things in 3D rather than 2D. So between having spatial awareness, a knowledge of denim, and that third spidey sense, we'll say, I think that's what gives me the ability to do it. I didn't even realize I was doing it until Nikki. Often someone comes in, I say, what's your blue sky? You know, what are you looking for? And I kind of see what I'm working with, do a quick little check of the memory bank of what we have in stock, and I grab the jeans, I give them to them, they go in the dressing room. Sometimes there's silence. I'm always nervous when there's silence. It has really good or really bad. Sometimes we get maniacal laughing, giggling, shrieking. We've had a lot of Snoopy dances. That old trope of look good, feel good, I hate that. It's terrible. It's not true. It's actually the opposite, because we project how we feel. So if you put someone in a piece of clothing that makes them feel like $1 million, they're going to project that they're $1 million.
There you go. I thought denim was just denim.
No, it's way more layers to it than that, Tom.
You gotta find the
now
expert.
You know.
Okay. Nicely done. Thanks so much for that, Jane. All right, first quick break on the way. Stay with us.
Yes, there is a lot more to come on CBC Nova Scotia News. One person is dead and others injured after a Singapore Airlines flight hit severe turbulence over the Indian Ocean.
Kindred spirits. A ballet dancer takes her final bow as Anne of Green Gables in front of a hometown crowd.
It's a lovely night out there, and Ryan's up next with his full weather forecast. We are back after the break.
Pretty nice day in Halifax, to say the least, today.
Yeah, and outside of Halifax, some folks probably got to the beach, I'm guessing. Not in the water, but, you know, the beach.
Yeah, definitely. And if you are heading to the beach, remember that it is still significantly cooler. As you will see in the tomorrow forecast, of course, I do the water temperatures, and I noticed a big difference from when I last did it, Tuesday of last week to today. Of course, off for a few days. And so, yeah, temperatures are bumping up, which is good. But it's still much cooler in places like this. This is Lockport.
That looks awfully nice, though, doesn't it?
Live shot, yeah, that's nice.
I mean, that
if you didn't know,
if you
right?
didn't know,
you figure it out pretty quickly.
There's almost an iceberg out there.
it's true. And you know that spot, even in August, will it can be a bit cool on the feet when you tread into the water there. But sorry, that should say Lockport, not Lunenburg. At 18 degrees at Lockport, lots of sunshine, a beautiful spot there, of course. And look at Western Head, just 9 degrees in those onshore winds, yet 19 in Shelburne. It's all about the wind direction, right? So a little more of a westerly flow there. Western Head's getting into the onshore wind. Shelburne, that station there, just slightly shielded. Back row at 11, Westport at 9, Yarmouth at 13, and then Kedgie at 23. So it is all about the wind direction this time of year. We did, in case you missed it earlier, hit 27. Those were kind of our hot spots. One spot in Pictou, one spot in Antigonish County, not far from the town of Antigonish, and also Victoria County had a spot there up towards the 26, 27 mark. So beautiful, right? Even if it is cooler right along the coast, just fantastic for this time of year. You can see the winds in from the west to southwest, as we said, and they've been a little bit breezy this afternoon. Certainly noteworthy, some gusts upwards of 41 at last check in Amherst and 33 in Sydney. But the cloud cover looking great, mostly sunny skies out there. Couple of cells popping up in through New Brunswick over the last little bit. Those are fairly isolated, won't be impacting us. We are watching that low moving out, and we've got just an unsettled setup here just to our north over the next couple of days. Watching this system, which is bringing some severe weather and some tornadoes to Iowa over the last few hours. I'm sure you'll see some dramatic pictures of a tornado taking down a couple of wind turbines there in Iowa. So some dramatic pictures there that'll be surfacing, no doubt, in the news over the next day or so. Now, again, this is why we're seeing all of that unsettled weather, though. Hot air clashing with the cooler air off to the north and west. Just 13 in through the prairies, 17 in Winnipeg, 30 degrees in Toronto. And we hit 30 degrees in New Brunswick today as well, in Dolktown, just north of Fredericton. Now, temperatures tonight will be ranging from around 8 to 12, a little milder in places like New Glasgow. Now, let's walk you through the timeline here and show you things awfully quiet tonight. Fog patches to start. It'll be the similar story. It takes a while for the engine to get warmed up here in Nova Scotia this time of year. We will do so. We'll see those fog patches dissipating, and then looking at a nice day, mix of sun and cloud, watching those shower chances, though, developing into the afternoon along the Northumberland shore, and an isolated risk into Cape Breton as well. Temperatures warmest inland, and we'll be, looking at, obviously, temperatures in the low to mid-teens along the coastlines for tomorrow, especially along that Atlantic coastline. Pretty comfy, though, across a good portion of the province for tomorrow. Halifax right around 23 degrees, I think, will be around our peak around the peninsula region, but cooler along the coast, and I think this will be our hotspot tomorrow. Best chance of 28, maybe 29 degrees will be in through the southwest, including places like Bridgewater. Similar story on Thursday, bit of an onshore wind keeping things cooler, but the warmest temperatures will be off to the north, and a little stronger southerly component to the wind on Thursday. So that's why it will be cooler along the Atlantic coastline in places like Halifax. We will be watching the best chance of showers over the next couple of days will actually be Thursday night. Isolated shower chances for Thursday afternoon. More prevalent Thursday night, clearing as we turn the page into Friday. Saturday looks good. Shower chances back on tap for Sunday. And the best chance really won't be until Tuesday of next week as temps cool off a little bit. But that is noteworthy, Tom and Amy, because that burn ban continues to be in place. Be safe for sure. Keep checking that website.
Yep, we could use some rain. It is dry for sure. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, a Dartmouth ballet dancer who embodied Anne of Green Gables is retiring after a 13-year career.
The CBC's Alex Guy was there when Hannah Mae Cruddas took a final bow in front of her hometown crowd.
It's surreal. It almost doesn't feel like
it's the end, though I know it is. It's kind of a little bit of maybe denial at this point. My name is Hannah Mae Crudis, and I am a ballet dancer with Ballet Jorgen. I remember, I think it was my 10th birthday, I went to watch the musical with my mom and my brother, and yeah, I loved it. I was always like, I could do that, but I'm not a singer, but I want to do, like, I could be Anne.
Hannah Mae is Anne. Like, she's incredible.
In 2019, I was feeling all sorts of emotions. I was obviously really, really excited. This was something that I had dreamt of. So there was all of that, like, love going into the process, but it was terrifying. Like, I had a heart monitor on at one point. I was having, like, palpitations, but I didn't know what it was, but it was likely just anxiety and just feeling the pressure of taking this beloved character and knowing that this character is viewed by so many in so many different ways. Now, coming back into it, I feel as though I have grown along with a lot of the world. I think perspectives have changed. There's this huge desire and need for Anne's joy right now. So this is my home studio. I started here when I was, I think, 4. Yeah, this was where I knew that I wanted to be a dancer. I really had missed a lot of regular life for many years. I miss birthdays and holidays and special occasions with my family, but it's a sacrifice, and it's a great sacrifice for when you're younger. But then as you get older, you're like, oh, I want to be able to have a family, but I can't leave a baby and go on tour for 7 months of the year. Also, just body things like arthritis in my joints, and feeling like it's time. I want to be able to leave of my own volition and not have to leave because I have, a knee that doesn't work anymore, you know.
Because this show is already emotional and there are already many tears at the end, I certainly felt like it bubbled up more, but it doesn't quite feel like the end yet. And I think it's going to hit me a couple weeks from now, and I'm going to be, it's done. It's totally over. But I've got these folks to.
Oh, we're moving.
Oh, great. Thanks. This one right here is extraordinary in so many different ways, and I'm glad she's going to get to explore some new ways that she's extraordinary.
What's next for you?
See, that is a great question. I have so many things that I'm interested in, and I have always thought about education in some capacity, and not necessarily dance education, but I would love to incorporate some of the really special things about dance and movement and bring that into an education system somewhere.
It does feel like it's a part of us, and then to be able to bring it home and to be in the place that is a part of me. There's a sense of belonging.
Hey, she's earned the limelight, don't you think?
I know. I love how supportive her parents are, too.
Yeah,
It's
an
really
impressive
great.
performer, too. All right, up next, I'll talk with a business representative who says poor cell service is holding back development in southwest Nova Scotia. That's our Newsmaker interview.
Stay with us. You're watching CBC Nova Scotia News.
There are calls to improve cell phone service in southwest Nova Scotia. Local businesses complain the cell system is hampering their efforts to grow the economy. It's also leaving some concern when it comes to warning people about emergencies. Angelique LeBlanc is the CEO of the Western Regional Enterprise Network, which works to create a business and investment-friendly climate in southwest Nova Scotia. So can you tell us how big of an issue is cell coverage or the lack thereof throughout the southwest region?
It's a huge issue. We launched a survey to our business community in December into January of this year. And without even trying, we received over 1,300 responses back from the community. So it really shows the scale and scope of the problem. And the problem in our region, it's clear, extends from Digby right through to Barrington. So the entire tip of southwestern Nova Scotia.
And I gather the wildfire last year complicated things. Can you explain that?
It did. There were some cell coverage issues even ahead of the wildfire. And not just the wildfire, but we are getting more frequent storms in our region. And I think our infrastructure is just taking a beating. So where there was maybe less than perfect cell service, there are areas in our region now that don't have coverage. So that definitely is a concern. And it's either not working as well as it was prior to these events, or maybe non-existent. So that did come out in a few areas in the survey. So that is something that is definitely worth noting.
And is it your sense that it's any worse than in any other more rural parts of the province?
I think the entire province is experiencing the same issues in the rural communities. I think, and we're a province that, we live and we work all over the province, not just along the shore, along the main roads and the highways. So it's definitely something that the more remote you get, the worse the problem gets as well. So I would say it's definitely not unique to just Western Nova Scotia.
So are you looking to the carriers to improve the situation, or do you think there's a role for government here?
Yeah, I think both. And I'm very glad to see that the government has already committed to addressing the issue. In October of last year, the province of Nova Scotia committed $47.3 million to the issue and to improving the infrastructure. So that's very positive. And I would say that the service providers, of course, have to be part of that solution. So we're definitely hoping to build on some of the relationships with some of the providers that we worked with on the internet file as well. That was the main issue. So these are core infrastructure needs in order to conduct business in any region. And of course, we recognize that the issue extends beyond the business community into just every resident in the province is impacted by the lack of adequate service.
Yeah, well, you mentioned businesses there. How is this affecting businesses in the area, either those that are there operating right now or those you'd like to attract?
Yeah, there are some things that came out in the survey, just very specifically things in terms of technical issues like dropped calls, slow data speeds, unable to hear the voice on the other end. So these are things that impact businesses and just the ability to do business kind of as you're moving throughout your community on the daily basis. And often if your business is located in an area with no service, of course, that's going to be an issue. Interestingly, and I think we all know this, if you have driven on our 100 series highways, that there are a lot of drop calls along the highway. So that as well, if you're trying to do business in your car, if you're driving from one meeting to the next, or in rural regions, we often have to drive to Halifax for meetings, that really impacts productivity and is an issue.
And as we become increasingly reliant on cell coverage for things like emergency alerts as well, I'm curious how concerned people are there about that spotty coverage in a case like that.
Yeah, we definitely had some feedback, a lot of feedback on that issue. The fact that they feel as though if they were in a certain area in an emergency situation, that there would be no way to reach out and ask for help. So.
Do you have any sense of a timeline as to when you might start to see some of that improvement in service? You talked about the provincial government and the help that they're lining up, but when would you expect to see a general improvement?
I can't answer that question directly. That's a question for the province of Nova Scotia. I will say that I'm optimistic that that there is activity that's happening. There has already been an RFP extended to ISP or internet service cell service providers in the region, and I expect that if it hasn't, it will be awarded shortly. And in the meantime, our role is just to make sure that we're connecting in with our local business communities. I'm in Western Nova Scotia with the Western Regional Enterprise Network, but there is a network across the province and who is very closely connected to their respective business communities. So we're just looking to share information and make sure that the focus is going to be on the right areas in our regions.
Well, we're happy to connect with you today, Angelique LeBlanc. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Coming up, climate change means fewer icebergs are floating by Newfoundland. We'll see how it's hitting tourism operators.
Welcome back to CBC Nova Scotia News. A British man is dead and more than 24 others were injured after a Singapore Airlines flight hit severe turbulence over the Indian Ocean.
The plane was forced to make an emergency landing in Bangkok after it suddenly dropped into an air pocket and hit rough air currents. Briar Stewart has more.
These were the moments after a Boeing 777 flying from London to Singapore was forced to make an emergency landing in Thailand. Some of the 211 passengers on board were carried off on stretchers. Others were triaged and treated on the tarmac of the airport after they were violently thrown around the plane when it hit severe turbulence.
It was instantaneous. It really was. And horrible.
Jerry was traveling with family to a wedding in Australia.
It went so sudden, there was no warning at all. And I ended up hitting my head on the ceiling, my wife did. Some poor people who were walking around ended up doing somersaults.
A 73-year-old British passenger died of a suspected heart attack. People not buckled in slammed into the overhead bins, denting some and causing oxygen masks to fall. The crew was serving breakfast at the time and was particularly vulnerable.
Your son came on, and as soon as I saw him, I put my seatbelt on. And at that very moment, the plane just suddenly dropped. The thing I remember the most was just the objects and things flying through the air.
Passengers said the turbulence lasted seconds.
We do not know exactly what happened in this event.
Captain Shem Momquist has flown the 777 and is a safety investigator. He says in warm tropical places like Myanmar, where this plane hit severe turbulence, storms form differently than they do in places like North America and may not be visible to the pilots.
It is very likely that the storm will just not present itself at all on the radar, and the pilots will suddenly notice at the very last minute, hey, we have something in front of us.
Which is why he urges passengers to wear their seatbelt throughout a flight. Because while what happened is extremely rare, there may be little warning. An investigation is underway to determine what caused the plane to drop, but experts say that climate change is causing more turbulence. One group of researchers from the UK predict that in the coming decades, severe turbulence caused by changing jet streams could double or even triple. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
One of Canada's most notorious serial killers is reported to be in life-threatening condition in hospital. Robert Pickton was attacked in prison on Sunday. Marianne Demain has the details.
Correctional Services Canada confirms to CBC News that serial killer Robert Pickton was assaulted in the maximum security prison where he is currently serving 6 life sentences. The Correctional Services Canada spokesperson saying at this point that no staff were involved in this assault and that it happened on May 19th. Now, 2 sources, including a police source, did tell Radio Canada that Pickton is now in critical condition after being in the common area of the prison where the assault happened. The CSC did not disclose any medical information about Pickton, but in a previous statement said the inmate who was the victim of that major assault was taken out of the prison and moved to a hospital for treatment. The assailant, we know, was another inmate. Now, Robert Pickton is a pig farmer from Port Coquitlam, BC, who was suspected of killing dozens of women who went missing from Vancouver's downtown east side. He is now serving those 6 life sentences for second-degree murder in the deaths of 6 women: Serena Abbotsway, Mona Wilson, Andrea Joesbury, Brenda Ann Wolfe, Georgina Papin, and Marnie Frey. 20 further first-degree murder charges against Pickton were stayed because he was already serving a maximum sentence. Remains or DNA from more than 30 women were found on his farm outside of Vancouver. Most of them were Indigenous women. Now, police are investigating this latest incident inside the maximum security prison, the Port Cartier institution. We also know that the federal public security minister, Dominic LeBlanc, told Radio Canada's Tout un matin that there will be an internal investigation in the prison to find out exactly how this assault happened in the first place. Marianne Demain, CBC News, Toronto.
Some good news today on the inflation front. For the 4th month in a row, inflation in Canada has slowed. The overall rate hit 2.7% in April. Nisha Patel has more.
Inflation in Canada is cooling, the overall rate hitting 2.7% in April, its lowest level in 3 years.
Many categories of goods, the prices are not increasing as fast, and I think it's a good news overall.
Grocery prices rose 1.4% compared to a year ago, with products like fruit and fish seeing declines. Prices for clothing and footwear and household furniture actually dropped more than 2%. Still, many Canadians may not be feeling much relief.
We don't feel 1%, we feel really 22%, because what our reference point really is when inflation started skyrocketing in June in the first part of 2021.
The biggest driver of inflation now is shelter. The cost of interest on mortgages is squeezing homeowners, while renters are seeing their housing bills soar, especially in Alberta, where rent is up more than 16% in a year.
Do you know what's absolutely insane, Calgary? Is that the apartment I had literally exactly 1 year ago is up $900 in rent. $900.
But overall, inflation is now within the Bank of Canada's comfort zone and is inching closer to its target of 2%. That may boost the case for the central bank to start cutting interest rates.
And there's a real risk that if they wait too long, it could force the economy into an unnecessary recession.
It can take more than a year for interest rate changes to work their way through the economy. Some market watchers say businesses are already buckling.
We need to cut 150 basis points right now. We need to get oxygen into the patient right now. And we're talking about 25 in July or 25 in June? Are you kidding me?
The odds that the central bank will cut interest rates in June are a little more than 50-50. But if the bank wants to wait for more evidence that inflation is under control, that rate relief may not come until July. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
The Speaker in the House of Commons is under fire again. Conservative MPs are once again calling for the resignation of Greg Fergus, leveling new charges of Liberal partisanship. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian has the latest.
For the good of the institution, of Parliament, and the enduring interest of the House of Commons, I regret to say that the Speaker must go.
The Conservatives demanding the resignation of House Speaker Greg Fergus because of this invite to a Liberal event, scrubbed from the web but saved by the official opposition. It says Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives propose reckless policies that would risk our health, safety and pocketbook. Far too partisan, they say, for the Speaker, who must be neutral.
It is incumbent upon this House to take action immediately.
The Speaker's office, though, stated this was an event by his local Liberal Writing Association, which says the partisan statement was written by the Federal Party without Fergus's knowledge, prompting this from the NDP.
I regret that the Liberal Party of Canada basically blindsided the Speaker. And in this case, that's why the National Director of the Liberal Party of Canada, I believe, needs to apologize fully and completely to the Speaker of the House of Commons.
It's not the first time the Conservatives have tried to oust Fergus. Last December, they and the Bloc Québécois called on him to step down after he appeared in a video message at an Ontario Liberal event wearing his non-partisan robes.
It's such a great opportunity to speak about my longtime friend, John Fraser.
The relationship between the official opposition and Fergus further strained last month when he ejected their leader from the House for a day for using unparliamentary language.
This wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister.
Today, the Prime Minister stood by him.
I have full confidence in Greg Fergus as Speaker of the House of Commons, as a thoughtful, independent-minded leader. The issue was dealt with, was addressed by the party.
In fact, the Liberal Party's national director ended up apologizing to Fergus in a public letter, stating the invite was based on their standard party language but put up without his knowledge. The Conservatives, though, say they will keep pressing for his removal as Speaker. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
The iceberg business may be on the rocks in Newfoundland. The graceful giants that float down from the high Arctic are in short supply this year, and with climate change, that could be the new reality. The CBC's Peter Cowan has more on what that means for the people who come to see the icebergs and the operators who serve those visitors.
You can see lots of signs for icebergs in Twillingate, even in the local beer. But there's one place that you can't find the real thing.
We looked out the harbour, there's no icebergs here right now.
Barry Rogers is getting ready for his first tour of the season. About half of the customers at Iceberg Quest are looking for, well, icebergs. And he doesn't have any to offer.
It's a little disappointing, but I mean, we've been doing this, Peter, for a long time. And, there's no two seasons that are the same to us.
Sea ice helps protect icebergs from melting and breaking up as they float down from Greenland. But a warmer ocean meant there was less ice this year. Secor is a non-profit company that tracks icebergs for offshore oil platforms and for the Iceberg Finder website. Its data shows that over the last few decades, the amount of sea ice has been shrinking.
We're going to continue to see decreased ice cover, a thinner ice, fewer icebergs. And that's something that we just have to deal with.
It's not good news for tourists like Peter Lamarck, here from the Netherlands with one goal.
Well, I'm 60 this year, so I want to see an iceberg in my life.
Alrighty, excellent. Oh, nice.
For businesses that rely on tourists, it means a pivot. Deborah Borden runs a pub, a hotel, and a restaurant. She says when her guests can't see icebergs, she encourages them to enjoy the hiking, history, or the people.
While we know that people may have some disappointment, I really truly believe that when they leave, many of them just say, hey, I'll be back, and maybe the next time we'll get to see icebergs.
It's still early in the season. A few icebergs may still float by, but for the long term, all people here can do is hope that the icebergs and the tourists keep coming. Peter Cowan, CBC News, Twillingate, Newfoundland.
For news you can trust, we have the latest on what's happening in your community and a weather forecast you can rely on no matter where you are in Atlantic Canada. I'm Amy Smith.
And I'm Ryan Snoddon.
Join us for Atlantic Tonight.
Right after the National.
All right, it was a nice day, but it did depend on where you were, and in terms of that breeze, it made a difference for folks.
Well, isn't that always the way in Nova Scotia?
Well, this time of year it is.
This time of year especially. This is the definitely where we're really getting warm inland. We saw temperatures today as warm as 26, 27 degrees, but again, 11 degrees along the coastline
That's a
today.
drop.
So that is a drop, and that's going to be the story until the water temperatures really warm up here over the next month to 6 weeks. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day, and this one we're going to the coast as well. And beautiful, beautiful East River, and a nice sunset shot here.
Nice, lovely.
Thanks to Wendy Cook for sharing this. Brian's picks at cbc.ca, and keep them coming. The picks have been great lately, and you can see temperatures tomorrow, a west to southwest wind, so it will be cooler, the Tri-County area, the Digby Neck, and then even along the Bay of Fundy for places like the Valley, but inland for the southwest, places like Bridgewater, 27, 28 degrees there. A little more of a westerly component to the wind tomorrow for the Northumberland shore. So you folks, again, will be cooler along parts of the coast, and that Atlantic coastline as well, including for the Halifax area, will be a little bit cooler, no doubt. We will be looking at a stronger southerly wind on Thursday. That'll limit temperatures for, again, Halifax, the eastern shore, especially, and into Cape Breton, where there's going to be a better chance for some showers as well, with high 20s further to the north. And we're going to be looking at, for then Saturday and Sunday, pretty good weekend shaping up. We'll keep an eye on some showers, chances at least on Sunday.
All right, thanks for that, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
4 legs better than 2 legs for surfing? I don't know. Check this out.
Yeah, dozens of dogs and their owners hit the beach in Spain over the weekend for the European Dog Surfing Championship.
And the dogs seem to, have pretty much shredded the waves there as much as their humans. They're having a great day.
The annual event promotes dog adoptions and discourages pet abandonment by showing off a fun way to bond with your pooch. I love that that's a thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.